Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's webcast. This is the second Dragonology event. The first one was held in Sydney last week, and last month, I should say. And we had a live event then where everybody got together for the first time, and we had presentations that gave the big picture of what was happening with speech recognition in general, and also with Dragon in particular. Part of the feedback from that session, I still have the arrows in the back of my back, was that people wanted to see more detail about how Dragon worked and, in particular, the opportunity to discuss problems that people had with Dragon. And tonight we're going to try and do that live on the web in real time. We've already taken feedback from everybody, and we have a long list of issues that people have had with Dragon. So part of what we're going to do tonight is go through some of those issues and see if we can give you some information that will get you started on finding solutions to your problems. With me tonight, out of Nuance's United Kingdom office, is Gary Quigley. Gary has been with Nuance for 10 years or more and is very experienced with the use of Dragon and how it can be applied to real-world problems. Gary, are you with us tonight?
Hi, Derek. I'm here in the UK. And nice and early.
I think it's a little bit earlier there and a little bit colder than it is here as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and what your interests are and how you came to be part of the Nuance team working with Dragon?
Well, I joined the Nuance team, or Scansoft as we were then, about 10 years ago now. I've worked in IT for 25 years, but concentrated on the Dragon product for the 10 years now. So yeah, that's me. I work as a technical pre-sales consultant, aka solutions consultant, aka the techie for the UK and Ireland teams. Also helping out our colleagues in the rest of Europe and South Africa.
Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. I know this isn't part of your standard job description, but we were together in the States at a meeting a few weeks back, and I thought we should get you along to share your experience with the Antipodean audience. So thanks very much for joining us tonight. Me, I'm Derek Austin. I also work for Nuance, but part of my job has been setting up the Dragonology user group, a user group for people that use Dragon speech recognition software for productivity purposes. And this is a user group. It's something that Nuance is supporting initially, and we hope that over time it will become independent and self-sustaining. So we hope you will all get involved with the group and help us build it into something huge and successful. So tonight, I'm going to start with one question from one of our members. Trevor Butler was saying, are you planning on having events in Melbourne? So for me, it was important that our first session together last month be a live one, that we actually had people in a physical place where we could all get together and talk and see each other in real life. Obviously, not everybody could get to Sydney for that event, and not everybody can join others in major centres. But live events will be an important part of what we'll be doing moving forward. Melbourne being obviously the second largest city in Australia, we hope to have an event there early next year in conjunction with one of our partners in Melbourne, VoiceX. And my expectation is that other centres will also be able to support events early next year. If you're interested in having an event, let me know. If you're interested even more in helping to organise one, also please let me know. So, what I did before this event, the goal, remember tonight, is to go through some of the issues that people have with Dragon and to help get you started in solving some of those problems. I spoke to our support guys and asked them for a list of their top issues just to get things going. And they gave me, I think, top 6 support issues for the Windows product. And as you can see, unable to dictate in a specific program, dictation not working, unable to download from Digital River, Nuance's online partner, installation hangs or stops responding, user files can't be accessed when opening a user profile, or activations have been exceeded. And I'm sure some of you will have had those problems. What I'm going to do first is just go through these pretty quickly and take you through the troubleshooting that a support guy would go through when they were trying to sort this out. Sound good, Gary?
Yep, no problem at all.
Okay. So, First one, unable to dictate into a specific program. And typically this will be something like a Microsoft Office application where you've been working with Word perhaps or Outlook and suddenly dictation has stopped working. So what do we do then? First of all, check that the hardware is working and make sure that your audio system is working, that you can actually get audio into the system separate to the Dragon environment. Check then whether you can dictate into DragonPad. DragonPad is the built-in word processor that comes with Dragon. And third, check that the dictation source, this is where you tell your profile you're actually dictating from, is actually the same as the hardware that you're talking into. So you might be talking into a microphone, a headset microphone, for example, but your audio might really be coming from the built-in microphone in your laptop. And Dragon doesn't do a very good job in those circumstances. Then, probably the most frequent thing to do is to disable and re-enable the Dragon add-in that's been inserted into Microsoft, the Microsoft app that you're using, to enable the connection with Naturally Speaking. How do we go about doing that, Darry? Do you remember how to get into Word, for example, and disable and re-enable the add-in?
Basically, with Word and most of the Office applications, there's, let me remind myself by looking at my screen here, there's, if you go into the home menu, in the tools and so file menu, options, on the left hand side of the options, there's an add-in center. And generally speaking, any add-ins you have are mentioned there. And more often than not, if you encounter any issues, any of our add-ins are marked as inactive there. So you go down to the bottom of that screen and re-enable it. So it's basically on the file menu and options. You can follow through to any add-ins.
Okay, so those add-ins provide an interface between the Office app and Dragon Naturally Speaking, or Dragon as it's now known. So you just need to turn that off, turn it back on again, make sure that it's installed and that it's working fine. Number 2 on the list, because we're going to go through these at a fairly rapid pace because we have a lot to get through. So dictation isn't working. So the most frequent reason this is happening is that an incorrect dictation source has been selected. So in that case, again, same sort of story. Check that the hardware is working, check whether or not you can dictate into DragonPad, and then make sure that the dictation source matches the actual hardware. So that's a more straightforward problem that doesn't involve the application add-ins if you're dealing with Office. The third one, much more straightforward. You've bought an upgrade online, say, and you haven't been able to download from Digital River. Perhaps there were network issues, or perhaps you've lost the download and you need to get it back again or reinstall the software because you've lost the original installation software. In that case, support guys will actually help you with a download link so that you can download the software again or for the first time. If necessary, they may refer you back to Digital River for some clarification on licensing or something like that. Number 4. This has been a little bit of a frequent one, I think, in the last 12 months. Installation hangs or stops responding. In this case, typically you're using a DVD to do the installation, and the usual problem for that sort of issue is an issue with the drive. Maybe the drive is slightly out of spec, or it's very slow, or there's a defective DVD that's causing issues reading the information that's on the DVD drive. Troubleshooting there is, again, support can provide you with a download link, or if you're in a location where you don't have enough bandwidth to do the download, they can provide replacement media and organise that for you.
It's probably worth pointing out, in the initial version of Dragon 13, there was a known bug with the product, but that was soon sorted, and any media that's out there in the wild now should install without any further issues. But as Derek's saying, it's probably prudent to contact the support team, as they will have an answer for it. Yeah,
that was a very painful bug for about a week or two when Dragon 13 was first released, what was it, October last year. And it was fixed very quickly, I think within 2-3 weeks. But there are still a few production DVDs out there that were the original pressing of the DVD. So if you've got that sort of problem, contact support and they'll be able to help you sort that out. Now, another one, user files can't be accessed when opening a user profile. This one has come up in the questions tonight as well. So in that case, the application Dragon will no longer open. The process there is, and you may need help with support to do this, is check your user account permissions and make sure that there is your account has full control on the user folder, and then restore or create a new user profile before rebooting and logging into that Windows account to make sure you've got access to the folder so that Dragon can actually put information into that and read it back again.
Okay, and another thing on that is that sometimes I did this initially. Sometimes you think you're being clever by saving your profile in one of these cloud services such as OneDrive or Dropbox. It's not necessarily the correct way of going forward, because of course if it's on the cloud, other services are potentially accessing the file at the same time. So try and leave your profile in a folder that won't be accessed by a cloud service at the same time.
Yeah, so in that case you've got several things, I guess, trying to access the profile at the same time, and it can get quite interesting, particularly because Dragon will need to have write access to that information. If you're changing it all the time, you'll have updates happening frequently. The last one on the Windows top issues list is that your activations have been exceeded. So each version of Dragon allows you to do a certain number of installations of the software before you need to increase the numbers of activations that you're allowed. The licenses, for example, with Professional, you can install Dragon on, it's licensed by profile, by speaker. So if you've got 3 laptops or 14 laptops, you're licensed to install that on all the laptops, but you may need to contact Nuance support to actually increase the number of activations for your software. So support can do that and give you some advice on your particular situation, and they'll also help you with the EULA, the End User License Agreement, if any of that needs clarification. Onto Mac. Just 2 Mac issues to talk about. One is opening a user profile, and I think, Gary, this may also, you probably don't do much Mac work there, but I think this was also an early bug with particularly local accounts, local profiles made with Dragon, where an error message was displayed after Dragon was opened. And the workaround there, if those of you have had that problem, I know a few of you have had that, the workaround is to create a new user profile, delete the old one, and then make sure you update to the Service Pack 5.0.2, version 5.0.2, and that should solve that problem for you. So those are the most frequent problems. Oh, sorry, number 2, I'm getting ahead of myself. Problems configuring the microphone. This happened a lot with version Dragon for Mac, Dragon Dictate version 4 on Mac, because it was a little bit confusing as to how the control the settings in the Apple menu actually worked in conjunction with Dragon. So if you've got problems getting the audio to work, again, similar to how you would do it on Windows, check that the hardware's working, check whether you can dictate into Dragon Pad, and confirm that the dictation source in the profile actually matches the hardware. Now this, in the latest version of Dragon for Mac, this is all much more straightforward and much easier to work out. So that concludes the most common problems that we've had from support. What we're going to do now is turn to a whole series of questions that you guys have sent in. We've got more than, I think about 230 plus people have signed up for the broadcast tonight, and about a third of you have sent in issues. I had to draw a line yesterday afternoon, so I sort of stopped at that point yesterday. So if you've signed up for the webinar after about 3 p.m, 2 p.m. yesterday afternoon, I'm not going to have your question in here, but I will look after the event to see if we can help you with those. What I've done is I've gone through them, I've tried to collate ones that are similar so that we can talk about them as a group, and in cases where there's something concrete that we can do about it straight away, I've put it in the slide. Some of the other problems we're going to be fairly blunt and fast about. We're going to basically say call support. So forgive me for doing that tonight, but some of the problems are very convoluted, and we'll try and explain why they're convoluted as we get to them. So first question from Gary. Oh, this is an easy one. I'd like to receive upgrade offers. I'm currently using version 13 Premium, and I'd like to update to Professional. So generally here, if you would like to receive offers from Nuance, you can sign up and register your product and opt in for mailing, and you will in that case receive offers regularly from Nuance, possibly to many of them. We're also working with my hat on as president of the Dragonology group to organise offers in conjunction with Nuance and our partners for you as well. So they will be coming through the pipeline too. So Gary, I hope that makes sense. Again, any of these things, any of my answers or Gary's comments that you need clarification on, the lines are open online at the moment, and we'll do our best to clarify things as we go along. But if not, we'll be posting in the Dragonology website and putting those comments into the webcast comment area as well. Michael Gardner requested, will there be a Dragon for Android? While the new version is great, a great advance, we're not always online and need some way of recording offline for later use. So, Gary, what do you think? Mobile devices and Dragon, where are we at with that?
So we're at an interesting state of play there, because we are about to launch an online version of Android, version of Dragon, as well as iOS. It still requires you to be online, of course. So this is kind of two questions, actually. Yes, there will be an Android version of the product, but in the context of offline usage of Dragon, what you're really asking is there a recorder option on Android and iOS devices. So we do provide a free app to record your utterances, if you like, and the premium version and above of Dragon allow you to convert those utterances later when you're back online. So so basically there are two questions there. There will be an online version of the product shortly, available on a subscription basis, but if you're out in the field, then record your thoughts using either our free device or free app, or other recording apps available on the device. Dragon will basically transcribe any audio file that's created in MP3, WAV, DSS, DS2. There's a multitude of formats that we can transcribe later.
And I guess the overall message is that while the smartphones are now very fast and very capable, they still have limitations because they have to be portable. So they don't have huge batteries and they don't have huge amounts of storage. And Dragon is, as you'd realize, intensive on both those things. So the processors in the smartphones, the high-end smartphones, are now fast enough to run Dragon probably, but they'd also burn your battery out pretty quickly as well. So those are part of the issues there, is why you haven't got a full Dragon running on your smartphone, and why most of the speech recognition that's available to you on mobile devices is actually done in the cloud. It's because you can run it possibly with the CPU on those devices, but you need storage and you need battery life. So those are the main issues there. Moving on to Christina. Christina asks, what are the key differences between Dragon Professional Individual and Dragon Professional Group? Good question, Christina. And I've prepared a summary for you. Dragon Professional is, as we mentioned at our last event, it's due to be released this month, just in time for Christmas if you feel like buying yourself a Dragon Christmas present. And I've got up there on the screen some of the differences, some of the additional features that are in the group product as opposed to the individual product. You can see the main ones for me, I think, in terms of the traditional model, is the correction-only mode, which allows a correctionist to use their voice to do corrections in Dragon and have that put against the person who's dictating's profile, so you're correcting a profile with your voice. And things like roaming users, which aren't available in individual but will be available in group. All the things that an IT department would need to support Dragon in a larger environment, including network installations, remote desktop connections, support for Citrix, as well as the Nuance User Management Center, plus the ability to manage the whole environment centrally. Anything you'd like to add to that list, Gary, that you think we should be alert to?
No, I think that's pretty comprehensive. I mean, the only thing I suppose worth adding is that we could have a whole extra hour or three on the new user management center. This is probably not the forum for it currently, but it opens up a whole new exciting world of capabilities for large organizations to manage their users.
Yes, if you're in a large organization, then the NUMC, as we call it, is definitely something that will make your use of Dragon more efficient as well too. So we're moving on rapidly. So Michael, another question from Michael. I use Dragon for Mac. To my knowledge, there are no manuals or books one can use to improve one's Dragon knowledge. So there are, in fact, user guides and so on online. I'll be giving you a reference to that at the end. so you can have a look at that. And part of the process of this user group is to start to get those materials together so that people are more aware of what's available and what's out there. So I'll link to that at the end so you can see what's online. And more there'll be videos and so on that will help you come up to speed too. Many of our partners in Australia will provide you with training too. So if you want one-on-one training, they will help you do that, and they can do that remotely too. Oh, perfect segue. How do you become a Dragon certified trainer? Talk to us and we'll take you through that. Tandon has asked, I need to have medical terminology included when I dictate. We have a whole separate Dragon medical series of software, which includes, I think, Gary, do you remember how many specialties we support in Dragon Medical Edition? I think it was
like 14 separate specialities. So
everything from general practice, ophthalmology, I'm losing my voice, all the medical specialties, anesthesiology, I could say that last time I was alive. Psychiatry, I think, is in there as well. You can get the medical software and just send me a note. It's sold through different channels to the professional stream of software. Send me a note and I'll make sure, or I'll send you a note, Tandon, but if anyone else needs an introduction to one of our partners that can help them with that, just let me know. Information on server-based Dragon voice recognition. I guess there are two things to talk about here. One is that we provide software development kits that would enable a software developer to build a server-based speech recognition environment. So if you're a software developer and you want to add speech recognition to your app, then we can help you do that for transcription purposes. The second thing to mention is that we have partners, the two that pop to mind are Big Hand and Windscribe, who integrate the Dragon technology into their bigger workflow solutions. So if you're, again, looking at a larger organization where the transcription workflow is important, perhaps you're automating a typing pool or something like that, these guys can help you do that and you'll get the quality of Dragon speech recognition at the other end. So again, we can introduce you to people who can help you with that. Okay, this is one of two questions. So the first one here is I record interviews in my role as a consultant and I'd like to have them transcribed with Dragon. Any suggestions? The second one is I hope Dragon would transcribe my interviews. And I've added a sad face there because Dragon does not transcribe interviews, I'm sorry. It works with one person at a time. If you want a more efficient way of processing interviews, probably the best way to do it is to re-speak the interview. So put a set of headphones on, play back the recording of the interview, and speak it back into Dragon, and that will give you a transcript straight away. There's even if you're doing this for a living, there's even specialist software, for example, something called AudioScribe that, again, has Dragon embedded in it, and it provides a very efficient way for taking live proceedings of, say, committee proceedings and so on. So some people make their living doing that, and there's a couple in Australia doing that too, who just do nothing else but sit in meetings, parliamentary committee proceedings and so on, use the keyboard, use their speech. They wear a steno mask so that nobody can hear them speaking. They look a little bit like a horse with a feed bag on. They can speak very rapidly, and at the end of the meeting there's a transcript of the proceedings available for people to look at. Okay, so let me talk about Dragon Anywhere, which we spoke about at the last event. Dragon Anywhere is, as Gary was talking about before, cloud-based software. It lives on your Apple phone, your Apple tablet, your Android device, and allows you to do speech recognition with the same sort of editing capabilities you've got on the desktop version of the product. So it's not yet available in Australia. It is available in the UK, I believe. Gary, has it launched?
No, it's not. It's not, no.
When's it coming, do you know?
It's coming shortly. We were promised it last week. It's not here yet.
Okay, so what about Germany? No luck there either? No. Okay, so it's available in the US. So if you're in the US, you can actually access Dragon Anywhere. I know a few people in Australia are doing that as well. They're signing up for a subscription service on the US service. The issues are, as you'd be aware, that speech recognition software has to be localized for the audience. It's not like a Microsoft Windows program that you can basically change a few ISEs into IZEs or vice versa and you've got it localized for British, Australian English from American English. Speech recognition requires adaptation for the local accent. So at this point, First, we don't have an Australian accent support for Dragon Anywhere. The second issue is that the servers running this process are based in the US, and the latency is a little bit longer than we'd like it to be. And thirdly, there are issues with data security. So the sort of organisations that we think might want to use Dragon Anywhere, so for example social workers, finance people, lawyers doing file notes, it's important that the data is kept in the country, and we need to provide a solution for that. So we're working on that, and we'll hope we'll have some news on that soon. You will need, so to answer the question, Shannon, finally, you will need to have Dragon Professional, either Dragon Professional Individual or Dragon Professional Group. Same question. Joe is asking a little bit further, what's the link, if any, between my desktop corpus and the one online? Do you want to have a go at that one, Gary, while I have a sip of water?
No, I just think you should. No, no. So you can save your utterances and your documents off to Evernote, to Dropbox. So the moment you finish it on your mobile device, you can reconnect on your PC using Dragon to that Dropbox or Evernote, and you can continue there. So that's the main link between the two parts.
Yeah, it's important to understand the link isn't with the audio. So the audio stays on the mobile device, it goes to the cloud, the text comes back. You can send the text wherever you want to. The integration with your desktop machine, you can load up word lists on either your desktop or your mobile device, and you can load up what we call auto text, which are a little bit like simple macros that you can do expansion on your mobile device. And those are synchronized between desktop and mobile. But that's the extent of the synchronization at this point in time. You can see a strategic direction there.
Just on that note, I mean, it's quite a powerful feature, the synchronization of the auto text and vocabularies. I had an instance the other day where I'd started on a new laptop, wanted to create a new profile, linked in my Dragon Anywhere account, and instantly, having created my new profile, Dragon Anywhere pulled the new auto text and vocabularies straight into a brand new profile, which meant that straight away I could use commands I'm used to and words that I'm used to without ever having to go through the whole process of re-importing these. So it just became a no-brainer to use the product.
Understood. The last in this series of questions, again from Shannon, I'm wondering if Dragon Anywhere is going to be able to be used with Dragon 13 or Premium, so we've answered that question. Is it possible to get more options at setup with regards to regional voice settings? So South African, for example, New Zealand settings and so on. Again, the issue here is how much localization we can get done, and we'd love to have support for multiple accents. The best thing at the moment is probably, I hate to say this to Gary, but use the UK option, because that has a very broad sampling of accents in it, and you probably get best success there if you're South African, if you've got a South African accent, using the UK model.
Exactly right. I mean, I look after the South African market and have travelled over there a number of times, and you're quite right. We've got a broad accent, and we cope very well with the South African slant on that, and Irish. Anything that's non-UK actually copes quite well in the UK profile model.
Understood. Moving on, question from Jerry. Tips and tricks on getting an effective start to using Dragon Pro. How important is a good microphone? How far behind are free applications like the Android software S-Voice, which may or may not have been written by a company we know about, the speech recognition built into Windows 10 and Apple. Gary, let's start with let me do the tips first. So I think the most important thing with getting started is to feel comfortable with basic dictation. And if you can work through the introductory material where you learn the basic commands and then spend some time to get those bedded down. Preceding that, you need to be able to dictate, of course. Many people that use Dragon have a long history of dictation, but if you've not dictated before, learning to dictate is a skill that you learn, and you just need to practice it. So one of the legal firms we work with, they make their new lawyers learn to dictate because they think they're much more efficient using dictation than using two-fingered typing or even reasonably efficient typing. And they give them tasks to do every week where they practice dictation. Once you're okay with dictation, make sure you're comfortable with basic text entry commands and get it all going, and then you should be comfortable moving forward after that. If you can, get somebody to help you set up the software. A couple of hours of training will help you get going very quickly indeed. So moving on, how important is a good microphone? Gary, what's your opinion on microphones?
It's the start, the finish, the middle of using Dragon. It's to be somewhat facetious. I mean, the name of the the nature of the product is speech recognition, and if you don't have recognizable speech, you're not going to be able to get a good usage model out of the product. So a microphone is highly important, preferably a USB headset with noise cancelling capabilities. Many people don't realise that a noise cancelling headset basically has two microphones, one on the inside that's listening to your voice, one on the outside that's kind of removing all the outside kind of noise. I've demonstrated Dragon in a call centre with 200 agents on the phone because of the capabilities of a noise cancelling headset. So the headset is everything to getting on well with Dragon.
So, and I agree with you, but I would just add one caveat, is when you will typically receive Dragon, this is changing now with the new products, but when you get Dragon, you'll get a headset in the box. You'll often find that headset is perfectly adequate for what you need. But if you need a headset with special capabilities, then there are a myriad of things you can choose from. The new laptops that are coming out now, we had some input with Intel to work on the specifications for the Ultrabooks that were introduced a couple of years ago. And the audio environment, those of you that saw me using Dragon at the last session, I was using the built-in array mic in the Surface Pro 3. That works really well. The microphones in the Macs work really well now and have noise cancellation built in. As long as you're in a quiet environment, no trouble whatsoever. But the headsets, noise cancelling devices will give you the best results. So how far behind are the free applications? What do you think of Android, I guess Windows 10 and Apple OS X built-in speech recognition are more relevant, Gary? How do you rate them at the moment?
I would never say that they're bad. I mean, they are good introductory pieces of software to start using speech recognition software. But I mean, if you're dependent on speech recognition to do a day-to-day task, then like anything in life, it's best to get the professional tools. Most of these things, well, it comes back to the old adage, doesn't it, that things in life are worth what you pay for, and if they're free, then you're not likely to get support. And I'm not saying the recognition is going to be any worse, but you're pretty much on your own. Whereas, you know, one of the things we do pride ourselves on is that speech is what Nuance is about, and of course, to that end, we offer support on the product at any stage as well.
Yep, remember Dragon is personal to you, it's personal to what you sound like, and it's personal to what you say. So it learns all of those things. Remember also that the focus of other speech recognition systems tends to be on the US market, and one of the areas I think that we do better, while we may not do South African specifically, I think we have better coverage across the planet for different accents as well. Moving right along, from Evan Parker, why is Dragon naturally speaking the most difficult software I've ever seen to install, such that I've given up and using an old version? Evan, most people don't have that experience, so I completely understand that some people do have the experience, but we need to refer you to support so you can get that checked out. There are some things we can help with. Most people don't have that sort of experience. John Hyland, why do I get better accuracy on my Dragon naturally speaking instead of my Dragon Dictate? That's the Mac product. I don't really understand the second part there, John. I think Dragon Dictate, the golden rule, do unto others is that you would have them do unto you, but then Dragon forgot that. So I guess Dragon Dictate wasn't treating you well. I think to some extent this is a couple of things here. First, there's a measure of expectation. The Windows product and the Mac products have different histories. They are still separate products because of the historical way that they came into being. The Mac product is at this point far superior, far better for just doing text entry rather than command and control. The PC, the Windows product, is excellent at command and control as well as text entry, and has many more bells and whistles than the Mac product. So that's the first point. The second point is there's expectations there in terms of what the product can do. If we're talking just about accuracy in terms of speech recognition for entering text, the other thing to keep in mind is that the products are often on different release schedules. They use the same speech recognition engine internally, but it can be the case that typically, not always, the Mac version will be the Mac software will be a version behind the Windows software, or on occasion vice versa. At the moment, with Dragon for Mac and Dragon Professional Individual, they've got the same version of the speech engine inside, so the accuracy from the engine itself will be the same. Hope that helps. From John Bock and also Mario de Cruz, it sounded like the same problem to me. So this was mentioned at the beginning. When exiting Dragon or saving user files, I sometimes get the error message, this file already exists. Is that because you're doing something wrong? No, it's not. As I mentioned, there are a couple of tech notes out there that you can look at that will help you get around this, but please call support if those don't help, so that you can get maybe a new build to download to make sure that the problem is resolved. So again, contact support. We'll show you how to do that at the end. From David, I can't open Dragon. Tech says it will be a major job to remedy. Presumably Dragon needs to be removed. Gary, what's your reaction to that one?
Not all technical staff are created the same. There are some IT departments that their answer to everything is to rip everything out and start again. I don't necessarily concur with that thought. What you probably need to do is engage with a Dragon reseller or our support team, and they will probably need to talk you through that issue. I don't believe that in that instance an IT department are quite understanding the issue that you're encountering. So I would encourage you to engage with our support team.
Okay, thanks Gary. David, I'm using Dragon Premium for dictating translation, Japanese to English on a PC. I started 2.5 years ago with Windows 8.1 and I'm now on Windows 10. Ever since I started using Premium on 8.1 and same with 10, whenever I have PDFs on screen and start up DNS, DNS immediately closes the PDF. This didn't happen before. What's going on? I don't know what's going on here. Some hints would be I have more questions about this one. So I'd be saying, first of all, what's the nature of the operating system you're using? There's probably at least 3 different ways if you've got Japanese enabled on the system. Maybe you don't, but if you're using Japanese on the system, there's at least 3 different software configurations you can be using for Japanese scripting environments. We don't test English Dragon on non-English systems, so there may be an issue there. The other question is, how are you opening the PDFs? What application are you using to open the PDFs? Can you open the PDFs with a different application? Does it do the same thing? So those are some starting points. Maybe try those.
Also, just interject. There was for a short while a known problem with Adobe X. So again, it's one of these things. It's something that rings a bell in my head, and I don't have the notes to hand. So. Sorry to sound like a scratch record. If you engage with our support team, they should know the tech note that's associated to that. So if you do have this particular environment that you have the Adobe X Reader product and this, I think there's a known issue. So engage with the support team. I think there is a known answer for this.
Thanks, Gary. One from Dan Hamlin. Why can't Dragon save between training between versions? So I think this is referring to the upgrading of profiles from one version to another. That shouldn't be a problem. Dragon in probably 90% plus of cases will upgrade a profile without a difficulty. Sometimes there are issues, often when a profile has been corrupted or something like that. In that case, you may need to create a new profile to get around it. Always back up your profile before you upgrade, so that if something bad happens, you can get your profile back again. And then just make sure that you call support if you need help in that case, and they may be able to help you get through that. And medical application, so a problem opening the Dragon box within your medical application software. I guess if you're using medical application software, we'd recommend that you use the Dragon medical software. That will give you the best results. There are some issues and some restrictions in terms of what you can do with medical software at the back end. Maybe that's the problem, I'm not sure. Gary, have you got anything to add to that one?
No, I think you've covered that.
Okay. Are training files transferable from Dragon for Mac to my Dragon Professional 13? Not at this point, unfortunately. So as I said before, they're two separate lineages, if you like. Hopefully at some point we'll get them so that you can actually move your training from one to another. But at this point in time, you cannot do that, sorry. When will DSS files, this is the format that Olympus supports, be directly transcribable in Dragon for Mac? Don't know at this point. It's on the request list, and I know many people would like that to happen, but it is, we are aware of that. It's obviously supported in the Windows version. It may appear in the future. Wendy's got an issue downloading the software and then installing it. Looks to me there, Gary, like she's able to download the software okay, but the installer's not launching, it sounds like to me. I think probably that's a job for support.
That's a job for support. It sounds like antivirus is coming into play and stopping you doing your day-to-day job as it sometimes does. So yes, please engage with support.
Okay, well that's something you could try beforehand. Disable your antivirus and then see if that makes a difference. If that doesn't help, please call support and they'll be able to look at it for you. It won't work with Word on desktop. From Wendy again, I followed 2 sets of instructions given in help to rectify the situation without success. Please call support. It does work with Word on the desktop, so we need to work out what's going on there to try to help you with it. Why is the Dragon dictation box necessary for some programs like Mozilla Thunderbird? Now I'm going to hand over to Gary on this one because he's the expert on things that live in the world of Java and so on.
In essence, it's just because every program we do need to have sort of an interface between Dragon itself and the product. So it's kind of where we started. That in the Office world, we have an add-in that is required for Dragon to communicate with Word on an easy level, and it's the same with browsers. So the common browsers like Internet Explorer and Chrome and Firefox, they all have add-ins, RIA add-ins, which help interface with the whole browser environment. I think basically because Thunderbird is written in its own kind of sort of proprietary way, we don't have an add-in that will jump in there and do the grunt work, if you like. So that's basically the reason why there's going to be problems there. We always bring up the Dragon dictation box when we can't natively talk to the environment. So the dictation box would come up to allow you to dictate and then transfer into that environment.
We've got breaking news, Gary. Question from Simon, who's asked 4 times, and I apologise that due to some technical glitches, I'm not able to monitor the questions in real time, but I have been handed a piece of paper. Should I upgrade from Dragon Legal to Dragon Professional Individual 14? I received a newsletter saying that DPI 14 is the latest and the best. That's undoubtedly true. Sorry, and Gary, we have an Australian version of Legal, so it gets complicated there. We will be upgrading Dragon Legal Australian to work with Dragon Professional Individual and Dragon Professional Group next year. So bear with us while that happens, and please wait until then to upgrade, and we'll help you then at that point. It will be the best, but you just need to wait until we make sure that it's all working well with the latest version of the software. So I hope that's okay,
it's
Simon.
It's probably worth pointing out that sometimes the Australian market feels that it's left behind with some of these product features, but there is going to be an Australian legal version of the product, as you say. There is not UK legal, so you guys are ahead of us.
Yay us. We succeed sometimes because we're small and insignificant. Okay, I'd like to learn how to use Dragon Pro to surf the internet on Chrome. How can Michelle do that, Gary? What's the best way of learning that sort of stuff?
I mean, when you create a profile in the first place, a video is shown at the end of the profile creation process that walks you through a bunch of the capabilities of Dragon, and I believe Chrome is included in that. But we do have tutorials on the net. I forget off name the YouTube channel, but we always have tutorials up there on how to do it. But in essence, it's no different from using Dragon on Chrome as to Internet Explorer. It's exactly the same.
Thank you, Gary. Noel asks about the Dragon vocabulary trainer on Mac. Every time he tries to load files, the program quits, and then there's no way to get it back. So I guess the things that occur to me is what files are you trying to load? What's the format of those files? Are they unusual? I'm sure they're not. If it's not working, it sounds like you've got a problem. Call support. They'll be able to help you with that one. Noel also says, I have 3 Macs. A couple of times I've tried to open Dragon on one machine and forgot it was open on the other. It destroyed the profile. Dragon isn't that smart, Noel. It really doesn't know what's going on other machines and doesn't punish you. So it may have been just coincidence that happens, but that's not how the profile was destroyed, sorry. Don't know what happened there. Okay, Michael is concerns over performance degrading over time. So the accuracy drops for short words, sometimes abysmally. Performance is worst in mail, second worst with Word, and best with Dragon, Pad and Note. And the third point is that I've got problems with my Speechware mic. It's got amplification problems. So maybe, I don't know, my inclination would be to tackle that in reverse order and fix your audio first, Gary. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think the first problem is probably caused by the last. So yeah, get your microphone sorted. The accuracy drops, especially for short words. I mean, it's probably worth pointing out at this point that Dragon always benefits when you talk in half sentences or full sentences. So try not to talk to Dragon in singular words. Dragon benefits from speaking in half sentences, full sentences. So so it's a convoluted answer, but as Derek says, get your microphone sorted and then perhaps have a bit more practice with the dictation.
Exactly. One from Jeanette. It looks like she's installed a new keyboard. Probably, I guess, maybe a new driver for that keyboard was installed as well. So some new software was installed in your system, and then something horrible happened to Dragon, naturally speaking. So it seems like, Jeanette, you've lost the media for installation. Give support a call. They'll help you get hold of a download link so that you can actually get hold of that software and are using it again. One from Jeff Gibson. I've just started. How do I change double quotes to single quotes? These are the commands. I hope this is what you're asking, Jeff. So you can say begin single quote, open single quote, close single quote, end single quote, open quote, begin quote, or close quote, end quote. If that's not the question, let me know and we'll look at that further. Also, Jeff, can I limit the correct function to the last use of the word? Now I get numbered words. This was an innovative feature that we introduced, and of course as soon as you introduce an innovative feature, people say, I don't like that, I'd like it to go back the way it used to be, please. And there is actually a setting you can choose in the options. Slightly confusingly, it's under commands rather than under correction, but if you turn off enable multiple text matches, that will get rid of that option for you and just select the last occurrence of the word or phrase that you mention. And finally, two more. Can I change the words of a command? No, you can't, but chances are good that you could introduce another command with different words in it so that you could use a different way of saying the command if that's what you're after. And fourth, why don't the instructions, such as they are, start with the most frequent commands? If you look at the tutorial and the quick guide that's available as well, I'm pretty sure those are the most frequent commands in terms of getting going with dictation, doing simple corrections. Maybe I'm missing the point there, but what is...
Don't forget, at any stage with Dragon, you can also say, what can I say? And it'll bring up the help, context-sensitive help file to help you with some appropriate commands.
Yeah, so what can I say is a good way of getting across all of those commands as well. Now, Chris is interested in a problem with Windows Live Mail, and there's a problem accessing information in a library there. Please call support. There's obviously something going on there that needs debugging. you've got something in the system that you shouldn't have, or you're missing something in the system that you need to have. Here's a good one from Stephen Vaughan. Dragon keeps inserting the word will randomly into my dictation. How vindictive of it. It doesn't matter which microphone you're using, doesn't matter which position or ambient background noise. It happens despite the updates. Any suggestions? Well, I'm suspicious of the profile, Gary. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Dragon isn't naturally vindictive, so I would perhaps retrain your profile. There's something odd there, or sometimes it might be environmental as well. It may be that there's a clock ticking in the background, or something odd like that, another noise that's been added that provides a sound that Dragon's trying to make a word out of.
Yeah, so try making a new profile. You don't say what version you've got. Oh, you've got the latest version. So try a new profile, see if you've got the same problem. If you have, that's really weird. The environment may be the place to look then, but it's not happening to most people. This one, Patrick, this is a problem very specific to Excel, where Patrick tries to insert comments into a cell and they don't work. Patrick, I replicated this on the latest version of Excel on Windows 10 today. It's still there. I'll look into that and get back to you on the status of that one. It is a bug. I apologise for that. One from Johnny. For whatever reason, I lost my full stop. The dot's missing when I say full stop. It won't reset using defaults in the vocabulary editor, nor can I train it on the vocab editor. Gary, what have you got any ideas on that one?
It's an odd one.
Yeah.
I think the universal answer is create a new profile, start again. Something odd's happened there.
Yeah, I agree. I think a profile is probably the problem there. Try a new profile, see if you can get around it that way. There's obviously something corrupted there. And full stops happening as well. How do you make Dragon put a full stop or a period all the time instead of just often putting stop? And why does it sometimes jump down to a different place on the page? So James, you don't say if you're using Mac or Windows. This sounds to me like you may be on a Mac. This occurs, or it used to, and you don't say what version you've got. This used to occur on previous versions of Dragon Dictate, where you were dictating into text windows where Dragon didn't have full control of the information in the window. In that case, if you mix keyboard input or mouse input with speech input, Dragon has no way of knowing what's changed in the window, and that can lead to erratic behavior of the type that you've described. There's a command in the Mac software called cache document that you should use after you've used the keyboard or the mouse if you're in those sorts of text windows, and that will just get Dragon to reacquaint itself with what's in the window so it can accurately edit the text. If that's not the case, send me a note and I'll look into it further for you.
And sometimes it's worth enunciating the punctuation a little more. Sometimes I find that when I get into a long dictation session, I get kind of a bit blasé, and I'll say, you know, blah, 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 full stop, and I lose my enunciation. So just make sure that every time you do a semicolon or full stop, that you perhaps expand that word in that kind of manner, full stop.
It's a good catch, thanks Gary. That is one that happens a lot. You do get lazy saying full stop at the end of a sentence, and it can often come out as will stop or something like that. So just remember to speak it continuously, use phrases, and you should be okay. Julie had Dragon for 2 years. It kept having to retrain it all the time. It wasn't, I guess basically that was a problem for her as a quadriplegic person. Again, Julie, in that case, it shouldn't be happening. If you're able to speak fairly consistently, Dragon should behave fairly consistently. So perhaps get some expert assistance on that one and follow up via email and see if we can help you further. One from Mealing, which I thought raised a more general principle. So how do I attach an electronic signature or picture to a document? Now, the answer to this one is, how would you do it if you weren't using Dragon? Because there's nothing particularly magical here about what Dragon does, except that you can have boilerplate text in voice commands, if you like, in voice macros, that can put a whole lot of text in there. But if you've got an application where you've got the ability to attach things to a document or whatever, then you can basically use Dragon in the same way. You can use Dragon with keyboard shortcuts to attach documents, or you can use the menu commands to choose particular items that the program would normally use and attach them that way. Dragon doesn't do anything magical here. It allows you to exploit the capabilities of the application you're using your voice. So think in terms of what you might do with a mouse, and then you'll be able to automate that using Dragon. And always keep in mind that Dragon allows you to send keyboard shortcuts or keyboard commands. So you can say press enter, you can say press control G, you can say press function 4, and it will actually do that for you. So keep that in mind when you're using applications, and that will help you automate things. Damon writes, I've been doing fine with Dragon 13 as opposed to Dragon 11, and he's been using Dragon really successfully. He wants to know how I can protect my extensive built-up vocabulary of surgical terms and retrieve it if I happen to lose it. This is very important. You can spend a lot of time getting your profile correct. It's nowhere near as important as it used to be, because people used to spend weeks and months and years getting their vocabulary just the way they wanted. It's now much quicker to rebuild that from scratch. But that shouldn't stop you from making sure that you have accurate backups, up-to-date backups of your voice profiles. You can do that in a couple of ways. One is to export your profile and store it somewhere else. If you go to Manage Profiles in Dragon, you can export the profile to a place that you want. You can put it on a USB stick or another drive and store it away safely. You can also, and better, make sure that your profile is backed up as part of your normal backup procedure, which of course you are all doing to make sure that your data doesn't disappear. Using the trustworthy and reliable high-speed bandwidth of our national broadband network that we now have in place, you can easily create yourself an off-site backup. The only challenge there is that Dragon uses different places to store profiles depending on the version that you've got. I've put up the path names there, but you can easily find them in our support site. Just make sure that those files are backed up and you can recover them and get them back. Anything to add on that one, Gary?
The only thing I was going to add is that you're talking about the profile in its whole context, but don't forget you can export the vocabulary as a separate entity itself as a word list. So what you say is completely correct. Store it within the context of the profile because you've built up contextual data, but as a sort of secondary backup, export your word list and save that as an independent thing anyway.
Fantastic. Karen writes, I do work as an editor using the review tab in Word to make comments in comment boxes for the writer. Dragon allows me to speak into the comment box but only picks up the first fragment. And the second fragment goes in some annoyingly random place in the original document. Is there a easy way to fix this? I tried this again using again, we don't know what versions of Word you're using there, which may be relevant here. I tried this today again in the latest versions, and inserting text into comments seemed to work fine for me. So maybe get some help from support on that one just to see what's going on. It may be related to the version, it may be related to other software that you've got installed on the machine. The second point, I haven't had a look at EndNote on Windows for a while, but again, if you can navigate EndNote using keyboard shortcuts, remember you can do that in Dragon. And you can also set up macros if you've got a premium or above version of Dragon that will allow you to press keys with commands and navigate around that way. Arthur writes, I have a Philips voice recorder that's compatible with Dragon, but I've got problems recognizing the speech on that voice recorder. Is there something I can do to rectify this? Arthur, Gary, would you like to have a go at that one?
It kind of depends how you're transcribing the audio file. Sometimes you can get away with transcribing an audio file with the same profile as you use with your USB headset. But Dragon also has the capability of creating a brand new profile based entirely on the audio that comes from a separate mobile device. So I would look into creating a profile that's dedicated to that USB device, that mobile device.
Yeah, and Arthur, just check the basics. Make sure you've got the high quality settings turned on the voice recorder, all those sorts of things, so that you make sure you've got the most accurate, the highest quality audio that you can get for recognition. This one is also about using digital recorders, and John wants to get some help with a similar sort of problem, and John will send you an email with an introduction to somebody on the Gold Coast who'll be able to help you with that. So again, getting help from people on these sorts of issues is always good if you want to get up and going quickly. Ian writes, I have trouble training Dragon to recognise phrases. I also find that from time to time I need to exit the program and restart it to get it working again. Second in the question from Erin, I have trouble training Dragon to recognise the spellings and capitalisations of certain phrases. Even after repeated training, it sticks to the old versions. Very frustrating. And from Sam, my version of Dragon doesn't always seem very intuitive with grammar. It also misspells words I've asked it to train. And then a question about Gmail. So let's start with Gmail first. Gary, does that ring a bell? Basically, I think what Sam is saying is that when he asks Dragon to learn from items in the sent folders in Google Mail, Google comes back and says that Nuance is not a safe site. Have we ever heard of that one before?
I've not heard of it before, but in all honesty, it's not a piece of functionality that I've tried. I'm sorry to be repetitive, but I think it's engaged with the support team.
Yeah. Again, I checked that today. I don't use Gmail regularly. Being part of Nuance, we tend to use Exchange and Outlook more frequently. I did a Gmail demo last year. I checked it again today. It's all working fine. I do remember some permission style issues last year, but I think we got around them fairly easily. So again, get some help from support. The other questions there are about correcting and getting Dragon to learn from mistakes that you make. And that's using the correct command to correct Dragon when it makes an error, and getting those changes to stick. So there can be a few things here. First of all, there's an option in Dragon that where you tell it to update your vocabulary. Just make sure that that item is checked so that Dragon is actually updating your vocabulary. Now, even if you remember that Dragon is statistical, so even if you correct something once, it doesn't guarantee that it will be correct next time, because Dragon will be doing its best, but it may have overwhelming probabilities for some other version of what you're saying to come out. Things you can do to get around that, you can, again, go into the vocabulary and train a particular phrase. The other thing you can do is remove things that are misrecognized from the vocabulary. So if Dragon is always bringing up the wrong word, you can actually delete that word from the vocabulary, and that may be a better way of ensuring recognition. Gary, do you have any other tips there to do with the vocabulary and making sure that changes stick and that Dragon learns what people say?
I guess the only thing I'd really add is that one of the stages that's often done in the background now anyway is optimization of the profile. So there's a silent optimization that's done on a regular basis when it's got enough data to learn how to do something with the profile. But there, on the tools menu, you can also force an optimization. So it may be worth doing that. If you've trained something a bunch of times, it may be worth doing the optimization process that helps Dragon kind of, for want of a better phrase, defrag your profile.
Excellent, good advice. And with the latest versions of Dragon, we're also doing more to make some of that optimization automatic, so that you don't have to worry about it so much. Now, we're running short of time here, so I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit and get through the questions. Even if we go through them very quickly, I hope that will get you started, and we'll come back to it at the end and follow up after the event. Two items, one from Ada about difficulty of recognising English. She speaks Cantonese natively, perhaps, as well as English. What should she use? Australian, or we've got Southeast Asian. What can she do to increase the recognition? You've got choices here. You can start with the Southeast Asian version. If you're from Hong Kong, it may be that you have more of an English accent, and maybe the UK choice is the best for you there. Similar question from somebody with a New Zealand accent. Again, when you choose the New Zealand option in Dragon for a profile, it's actually giving you pretty much the Australian profile, is my understanding. So again, if you're not getting success from the New Zealand setting in Dragon, try the UK one. Just remember though that if you spend a little bit of time correcting things to see if that accuracy improves, and if you I think you're doing it till you're blue in the face, Roseanne, so it's probably not working. Shouting doesn't help, unfortunately, with Dragon. You just get it cross, and you get cross. So try the UK profile would be my recommendation, and see if you have more success with that.
It's probably worth saying that Dragon doesn't ever kind of pick on particular accents as far as it's concerned. Because I'm often accused, because I'm English and I'm from the south part of England, that Dragon will work well with me because my accent is in a particular way. As far as Dragon's concerned, everybody has got an accent. So it doesn't particularly pick on people from South Africa or New Zealand or whatever. It's just a case of sticking at the training. Yeah,
and you get some very strange accents that Dragon gets very well, like Glaswegian, which is interesting. Okay, Peter's got a problem with Dragon wanting to upgrade a profile every time he opens it up. Peter, that's odd. Call support, please. Is there online material? So we do make a video. We have online videos. So this is material that will help you get up to speed with Dragon faster. So there's material online. I'll show you where some of this material is the last piece of this presentation. Phil, you can go there and check it out. We have trainers available locally as well. Is there any conflict between Dragon 14 and Windows Office 365 and OneDrive? Pretty much around OneDrive. I don't know of any, Chris, but I'll check on that and get back to you. My mic keeps disconnecting. I have to pull out the dongle at the back of the computer each time to reconnect it. Is that right? No, it's not right. Chris, you need help on that. But that sounds like it may be a hardware issue perhaps rather than a Dragon issue. So maybe check the basic functioning of the audio environment that you've got there and then give support a call. Angela tried Dragon with a Philips recorder and it's been in her desk drawer for 3 years, but it's not working. It hasn't worked well for her. No joy downloading the software. Angela, let us organise the download for you so you can try it again. We'll be in touch on that one. Juliet has used Dragon for 20 years and the biggest problem is her speech. She has a mild speech impairment with a bit of slurring and it keeps changing depending on how tired I am. Any idea how to combat that? So my suggestions there would be try doing the audio training when you're before you start a session if you think your voice has changed. It may even be worth creating you know, separate profiles for alert, tired, very tired, asleep, so that you can switch profiles and Dragon will recognise you in different states, as it were. I know I did that once. Gary, is that reasonable advice, do you think?
I would absolutely recommend doing a couple of profiles, a morning one and an afternoon one. I had a joke for a while, probably not very funny, that I had an after pub one as well. So yes, I would definitely create profiles for when your voice sounds different.
Yep. The second part of Juliet's question is about the colours of the correction dialogue box and other dialogues in the system, and it would help people with particular issues, with eyesight issues, to be able to change the colours of those boxes. We are aware of that one. It is a feature request that's in queue, so I followed up on that with somebody else about 6 weeks ago, and that is in the queue of feature requests. Hopefully we'll see that in a future version. Rob, I didn't understand this one, I'm sorry. If you could send us some examples of what's going on, we'll do our best to get back to you. And Andrew here is got a problem with media. Andrew will organise a download for you and you can try that again. Jim has a problem with Dragon performance fluctuating, and we didn't address that in one of the earlier questions. Dragon sort of starts and then stops working. Gary, have you got any advice on that one?
No.
It's usually a memory issue, right?
It's always actually worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem that used to happen a lot more when people would run out of memory and basically it was things clogging down and people would restart their devices all the time. So without more information about what your environment is, it's hard to comment.
One line of thought is there is the cache. If you go into the tools and options, there's a cache size issue. So it's what you're touching on. It's probably memory availability. So I forget where it is on the options dialog, but there is a dialog there that you can change to increase the amount of cache size that Dragon will use.
Please call support. Alan, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Alan says, I'm in a law firm using Dragon 13 with Legal 11. I don't know if my legal is connected. You need to have the same version. So if you're using Dragon Legal 11 is probably not working with Dragon 13. The second question is relating to Nuance releasing new versions, and you bought it in April, and a few months later the new version came out. Why couldn't those purchasers buying version 13 be forewarned that it was going to be superseded within months? So I think there was a 6-month gap after April before version 13 was brought in. We normally have a period before the new release, whereas if you bought the software just before, you are entitled to a free upgrade. That's typically 1 month before the release of the software. And then also, if you're a registered user, we give you a special price on the upgrade. Unfortunately, that's the way the business works. So we can't just tell you 6 months in advance that we're going to release a new software with my Nuance hat on. Why is the Dragon dictation box necessary? I think we covered that one. Jane here was going along very successfully, and then suddenly she was asked for a microphone check, and then nothing worked after that. So that says to me that something broke and it needs to be fixed. But it sounds like it may be broader than just Dragon. If you've got problem listening to audio from webinars and things, then probably you need to be looking at your audio subsystem in closer detail. Peter, you say correct a particular word and it comes out, the correction menu pops up twice and then disappears. That's an odd one. Again, please call support. Robert has low vision and he's finding it difficult to recognise and correct incorrect words efficiently. He uses a strong screen magnifier, so only a small fraction of the screen at a time. How should I best train Dragon? Not sure. Got any suggestions there, Gary? I think this is probably an area where specialist help is required.
That's what I would have said. Particularly in the UK, I have no reason to believe that Australia would be any different. We have a bunch of resellers that work well in any disabled environment and know lots of good coping strategies. So I would engage with one of our resellers that specialise in that area. Exactly,
and perhaps look at, you may need some augmentation, some better software for handling the screen would be my initial thought. The second part of your question is for your PhD, you've got specialist terminology. How do you do that? You can point Dragon on either Windows or Mac at your documents that you've already written. Dragon will process all those documents and then hopefully get much, much more accurate at recognising the terminology that you're using in those documents. So if you need help doing that, let me know. Catherine, this is when I use Dragon in my computer-assisted translation software. It doesn't make a capital letter at the beginning of a new sentence. This sounds like we're not getting full control in that text window. We don't know the versions there. So you can explicitly, obviously, say cap and then the sentence following to capitalize, sorry, the word following to capitalize that word if it's consistent. If it isn't, if you've got something odd going on there, again, call support. How do you train new vocabulary in Dragon for Mac? There's a menu item where you can do that. Just check it out and you'll find it easily enough in Dragon version 5 in particular, Dragon for Mac. If you can't find that, let me know. Peter is asking about Dragon for Mac. He's got a problem with the environment at the University of Queensland, my old alma mater. So Peter, I'll be in touch and we'll see if we can help you with that. So can I improve on Dragon Dictate for Mac version 4? Well, of course, Nuance would say you need version 5, which is Dragon for Mac. You should find that it's much more usable, and note my comments earlier about expectations on the different environments. Richard writes that he selected a word and given the command cap that, and how do you stop Dragon capping as many words as it feels like that day? It could cap 6 on a bad day. Any ideas on that one?
Profile.
Sorry?
Create a new profile.
Create a new profile, perhaps. The other that's odd behaviour. The other thing is the word copy, as I'll send you a copy. Again, this sounds like practicing dictation so that you say things in a smooth flow without pausing between words too much. Dragon looks for a pause before a command. So if you're putting in too many pauses between words, that could be causing problems. And I think there's some settings you can change to set the sensitivity of that if it's a particular problem. Michelle asks how you can learn to set up macros, and I think maybe that's a good one that we can come back to in the future. If you look in YouTube though, Michelle, there's people who show you how to set up macros and you get some idea of how to do it.
Like you say, on YouTube, we've got a commentator on the live stream, Shannon, who keeps mentioning that we have some videos. If you go onto youtube.com and search for Nuanced Dragon, we've got a bunch of videos on there about macros. And I think in times past on my personal YouTube account, I've done some videos. I'm Quiggles 1968. So between Nuanced Dragon and Quiggles 1968, there's some macro videos.
Quiggles is one of the best YouTube channels you can go to. And
no, it's not.
Nicholas has a similar kind of question. So again, look at that on YouTube. If this is something of interest to many people, it may be some place where we can pick up later on. So that brings us to the end of all the questions I had as of about 2 p.m. yesterday. So I hope that's helped some of you, and I'd really like to hear your feedback so you can tell me what you think about how this went today, whether this was useful or not, whether it was boring going through the questions or whether you got something out of it. Love to hear back. Just to conclude, I want to alert you and make sure you know what's online as far as the Nuance sites are concerned. If you go to any of the Nuance websites, and in Australia that's australia.nuance.com, New Zealand.nuance.com for people in New Zealand, the UK it's nuance.co.uk, the generic US one is www.nuance.com. There's a support button in the top right of the screen. If you go there, you can click on it and it will take you to this page where you will see Dragon support for Windows, and Dragon Dictate for Mac. These should be revised shortly. Going in there, you have access to a whole series of things. There's user guides, which have reasonably detailed documentation on what the software does. There are quick start cards to get you up and going quickly. There are cheat sheets, demo videos, workbooks to help you with training. If you need to do a little course yourself or train someone else, that's a good place to go. And also guidelines for some of our headsets. As well as that, there's a link to Ask the Dictator. I asked people who recognised Peter Mahoney last time, and a few put their hands up. You can go and see Peter and all his glorious coverage of Dragon tidbits and features and go through those and see what you can do with Dragon overall. We also have a list of hardware compatibility where some headsets are actually tested online so that you can see if they'll work with your particular environment, and some other issues on compatibility on OS X on the Mac environment, Dragon support forums, and also a feature request location. So that's all there online. In addition, you've got the ability to search the knowledge base to actually find particular issues if you don't want to talk to support. So you can actually type in, for example, here I put Dragon Windows 10, and that will bring up a list of articles in our knowledge base that you can read about the software. So if you want to try this on your own, if support's closed, it's 2 a.m. in the morning, you can actually go there and look at what's available, and we'll hopefully have a lot of information there that's relevant to you. Finally, you can call support, and I recommend phoning them. The numbers are on the website. It's open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sydney time. You can call in there and get help from a person who will help you with the issue you've got. 9 to 5 p.m. Customer service is 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Technical support versus customer service. If it's a technical problem, phone technical support. Okay, so what's next? That brings us to the end, and I hope that's been of use to you. What I will do now is go through and post responses to most of the questions we've talked about tonight, and perhaps a few of the ones that we haven't been able to cover. And we'll put that on dragonology.com.au in the comment section associated with this webcast. Our goal is to have a monthly webinar in 2016 on different topics. So if you've got topics you'd like to see covered, please send us a message and we'll look into what we can do. If you'd like to participate in a session or even lead one, organise one, let me know. This is a user group. It's not meant to be a Nuance marketing activity, it's meant to be a user group. So please get involved and come and let us know what you'd like to do. So I'd just like to thank you for tuning in this evening, and I'd like to thank Gary Quigley out there in the UK for coming in again. Thank you, Gary. It's been great having you online tonight. this morning, your time, and I hope we can do it again in the future.
Not a problem.
So thank you, everybody. Thanks again for coming along, and we'll see you next month.